Well, hello and welcome back to Ravenwood Acres, and today is episode 9 of Between the Lines. And today's episode is going to be a little maybe different from some of the past episodes, and I kind of feel like this is where I want to go with this series. In fact, I believe eventually I kind of want to start live streaming these. I just haven't gotten to that point yet, and some of the challenges with me doing live streams is me being located overseas. I'm in a different time zone than the probably 90% of my audience based off of my YouTube analytics. So, well, maybe a little less than that, but North America, to be more specific. So I was recently turned on to a book called The True Believer by Eric Hoffer. And I learned of this book through CJ, who runs a podcast called the Dangerous History Podcast. He's also a collaborator on the Unloose the Goose podcast. CJ's like a history professor, and he had a guest on, and they were talking about this book. It fascinated me, the whole concept, and of course I downloaded the Audible book. Full disclosure, I'm not all the way done with the book. I'm pretty close. It's not that long. It's about, for Audible size or an audio book, I think it's a little less than 5 hours of listening time. I like it so much I'm probably going to buy the paperback. But I have always been fascinated by mass movements, and maybe I didn't define them like that in my head, but this is how they're defined in that book. Whether they're political, the Nazi Party, Mussolini and the fascists in Italy, the communist movements, religious movements throughout history, and I know I'm probably going to piss some people off with that, but take it for what it is. So I always kind of wondered. It can even get down into the smaller niches like some of the cults and things like that. And me personally, being a member of the U.S. military, quite honestly, I've fallen into some of these psychological categories. Now that I'm very close to being done, I have a hard time. Some of the things I used to really agree with, I definitely don't anymore. So we all grow and change, so do not take this personal. If you seem to think that some of the stuff I'm talking about here is defining you, maybe just do some self-reflection. All right, so I'm going to start off with a quote from Eric Hoffer where he talks about true believers, or what a mass movement, basically what generates a mass movement. I did definitely have to look some things up as I've gone through the book so far. This is written in 1951. So, all right, let's get started. So, all mass movements generate in their adherents a readiness to die and a proclivity for united action, all of them, irrespective of the doctrine they preach, breed fanaticism, enthusiasm, fervent hope, hatred, intolerance, and all of them are capable of releasing a powerful flow of activity in certain departments of life. All of them demand blind faith and single-hearted allegiance. Eric Hoffer. All right. So, I don't know. I found that pretty powerful. What do you think? So, his psychological analysis. So, what makes a true believer, or what, as he analyzed over the past and history, is what makes a true believer is he lists out a few things, and I'm going to paraphrase here. Frustrated with life, lack purpose and meaning, feelings of rejection. Any of this sound familiar? As we go through this, I just want because I'm giving a very short summary of what I have consumed so far, and you know, I think you're gonna see some correlation. I'm gonna help. In my opinion, I'm gonna tie a few things together at the end of what I think is what we might be currently seeing in society over the last decade or so, maybe even longer, several decades for that matter. So what is a true believer according to Eric Hoffer? According to Hoffer, a man of fanatical faith who is ready to sacrifice his life for a holy cause. And I know a lot of these terms here sound very religious, right? Well, they are, I guess, in some sense. But, you know, your religion could be, you know, your belief in the Third Reich, your belief in the, you know, whatever ideology you want to embrace. So it could become religious for you. It may not be defined by a you know, a god or a deity of any sort, but it could be an ideology that, like I already said, that they're following. So, you know, the word faith, you know, if you look it up, it really just means you have complete trust in something. You know, I could say I have complete trust in my coworkers to do X, Y, or Z, or I could say I have faith in them to get this done. So I think sometimes when we hear the word faith, we always think it is a religious content, but it could totally mean, you know, just loyalty or trust or complete trust. So what attracts true believers to mass movements? He goes in massive depth into this, and there's so many things that are like, when you hear them as you go through the book or you're reading them through text, you're just, if the hair doesn't stand up on the back of your neck, you know, some self-reflection may be required. Okay, here's what attracts them, right? It's individuals typically that they blame society for the failures, but on the other side of that coin, individuals that associate society with their success. So they could be not like on hard times, they could be doing well, but they attribute all their success to what society, the way things society is working today. Therefore, they may they may oppose any change because they see if there's change, that change will equate to a lack of success, potentially, right? So he also talks about the new poor, and because he mentions that societies of, you know, like, say, a good example would be like third world countries. I've traveled to a lot of places in the world, and I have seen some very impoverished countries and areas of the world, and the people that have grew up living like that are not typically these people that fall into this, because they associate that as their life, as things are. New poor would be someone that went from having status, meaning, you know, there was some sort of economic collapse, there was a war, there was a good example. So he goes into detail about post World War I and the German people being in this position, for the perfect position for the Third Reich to roll in and, you know, capture that society, not physically, but to offer them that hope that they were looking for. And he also mentioned something, and this one's one I would like to do more research on before I elaborate, but people that are attracted tend to be less creative. I guess he kind of says that basically if someone comes upon hard times, becomes that new poor or whatever, but they're creative. They can entertain themselves, and they're just that part interests me, and I definitely need to do some more research on that, and then maybe I'll elaborate more as chapter almost into chapter 3 now. So, all right. Another person's role in this, and this is the part that I really want to hit on here as we talk about this, is the role of an intellectual in a mass movement, right? Of course, they're going to be the ones that are laying the groundwork for these movements. Hoffer outlines 4 typical ways this is done. This is through discrediting prevailing creeds and institutions, indirectly creating a hunger for faith, a new hope, right? A new, something new. We need to, by creating, if you create discrediting, you're creating lack of trust, right? So people are seeking to find something to trust in, to have faith in. Creating a new doctrine or a new normal, sound familiar? And slogans of the new faith. Undermining convictions of better people, those without faith, meaning those that are not believing what they're selling. Why are they over here independent, free thinking, and living their life and just want to be left alone? They need to be a part of this system. The intellectuals typically are the leaders. This sets the stage for charismatic leaders is needed. I think in modern time, this is the part where I wanted to elaborate more. I don't know if it's because those that have been running the show have figured out the psychology behind this, and they use it for more like short-term gains instead of long-term gains. Because quite honestly, I haven't seen a charismatic leader in a long time in the Western world. And there may be some people that believe in certain individuals and think they're charismatic. I haven't seen any. Although maybe that's because I'm independent and I think for myself. I don't know. Of course, creating a common enemy. Post 9/11, post anything, right? We have to have an enemy. The United States has done this time and time again. They want to get the American people to buy into something, create an enemy. And maybe that enemy's guilty of something, right? Makes it more plausible, but it keeps us very distracted, in my opinion. And then self-renunciation, and I know I'm butchering that word, but the followers, right, they fear freedom and responsibility. They want to sacrifice, give themselves to the cause, right? Soldiers, we kind of do that. We for the greater good, whatever it may be, when really it's just about our buddies next to us. But it is pretty, I don't know. I may find this extremely fascinating, and everyone else might be like, this is boring as all get out, Jake. I don't know. What do you guys think? Have you seen this in modern times? I mean, I don't think we've seen anything. We haven't seen any mass movements in the sense of, the communists or the fascists of Italy, Mussolini in Italy. We haven't seen anything near to the Nazis. Even though there's some people that were screaming Nazis last couple of years ago, like constantly, like. We haven't seen anything like that in a while, but I have seen the makings of a lot of this other stuff, in the more short-term manipulation to get certain political leaders elected, certain mandates, think back to some of the most controversial bills in the United States, the Patriot Act, the Affordable Health Care Act, all these ones, there's usually a massive campaign prior to them that kind of falls in line with some of this stuff to drum up that support they need from it. But it definitely shows me that there's probably a good reason why the powers that be really hate independent thought, independent people. Think about it. There was something I heard a while back, and I wish I remembered it right now, but basically, like, the government doesn't like homesteaders, basically, because, you give a person a piece of land, and they can grow some food and have some livestock, and there's not a lot you can do to control them because they have what they need. That's honestly, some people might wondering, and if you stay along this long, I'd be surprised. What does this have to do with preparedness? And your mind is a very important part of preparedness. You need to keep challenging it and learning new things, and just recognize, sit back and observe, do some self-reflection, and then see the Fenords. They're all around us. If you know what I mean, you're pretty damn cool. All right. Well, thanks for watching again. You can always check me out in my other social media links down below. I also have a website now. It is like 10% there. I'm working through that. I'm learning this myself as I go. But it's going to be a good one-stop shop for everyone, everything to do with this channel and anything beyond this channel. The website is theravenwoodacres.com, because of course ravenwoodacres.com was taken. Anyways, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and have a great day. Till next time.